Hey, Facebook family, what's going on? This is Dr.Nima Rahmany. I'm here at the Limelight Wellness Center after a client call with a huge revelation, heart opening to the point where I was in tears. She was in tears. We had an incredible moment. It was one of those moments which made me super duper grateful for the amazing opportunity that I have to share with people this type of work. And I thought I couldn't leave this out from sharing this with you. This is specifically for you if you've been dealing with trauma from a grief or a loss. I'd love to have you engage with me and let me know this was the spur of the moment type of broadcast, but it was too important for me to not share with you. And this is for you if you've been struggling. I want you to, if you know somebody who has been dealing with a grief or a loss from specifically, I mean, this goes across the board for all grief kind of cases, a death of the family member, a partner. In this case, a client of mine had her partner take his own life 6 months ago. 6 months ago from now. And it was a pretty traumatic thing for her to go and discover that she is not going to be with him anymore and not going to have to see him anymore. And so what happened was it kind of sent her into a tumble, which is what normally will happen to us if we don't really have the right tools. But this kind of thing could actually, instead of driving you down in a downward spiral with your health, with your vitality, with your mindset, with your mental health, it could actually be the start of a transformation where you could use this to help serve humanity with it. And I wanted to share 6 steps with you that's going to help people transform their grief into power. And specifically, I want you to let me know where you're tuning in from, where you're signing in from. I'd love to engage with you. Let me know if you're having any aha moments, anything that pops up for you. And please, please, please share this with somebody who's been dealing with grief or loss or death, specifically with suicide. That was the case that I was working on this morning. And it was such a profound revelation that I didn't want anybody to be missing out on it. So I'm going to give you guys a few things to keep in mind to help overcome grief, specifically from suicide. So this story basically was a couple who they were having kind of relationship issues. And she basically said, you know what? It's time for us to part ways. I need some space. And he was of the opinion that my life is meaningless without you, and I don't want to live my life without you. And so soon after she made that decision, he took his own life, and she found out 6 months ago. This all happened 6 months ago. So as we worked on it and peeled back a few layers, I wanted to share this basically with you. So the first thing that I'd love for you to really get here, number 1, is do not bypass your feelings. One of my clients had come in after the loss of 2 children, not 1, 2 children under like very young age, under the age of 2 children, not 1, but she buried 2 children. And she did a lot of spiritual development, personal development work, and attended seminars to try to cope with the feelings. But in fact, what she was actually doing was trying to bypass her feelings. So the first thing that I'd really recommend to you is to not bypass your feelings, to actually feel them. In fact, I told Nagina, I said, and her name was Nagina, she shares this story publicly with her patients. She's a chiropractor. She, dealing with the loss of two children, and I knew that she was into this personal development work. And so the first thing that I told her, I said, all right, I want you to tell me how angry you are with God and how unfair he's been with you. If you could scream, what is it that you would say? And she said, that's true. It's not fair. And for the first time, she actually expressed it. So for 3 years, for about 3 years, she was basically bypassing her feelings. So the first thing, if this happens to you, definitely do not bypass your feelings. Now, you might be wondering, who is this guy? For those of you who don't know me, I'm a chiropractor. My name's Dr.Nima Rahmany. I'm a chiropractor who's retired from full-time practice to teach people about how to transform their stress and pain into power. Transitional anxiety, career and relationship limbo. I help people who are struggling with career and relationship limbo get powerfully aligned from this tool that I've created called the Overview Method. And this is exactly what I use to help transform these feelings very quickly. And so what I've discovered is it doesn't need to take 20 years to overcome an issue. It can happen in a matter of minutes. And Jessica basically says, suicide is not fair. It's so difficult. Absolutely. And Jessica, if that's happened to you, my heart goes out to you. My heart does go out to you if that has happened to you, because it's not supposed to be easy. And this client of mine, and I'm going to share with you, I really want you to stick around because I want to share with you the revelations that she had. The first thing was definitely do not bypass the feelings. The second thing you want to really get is this. This was a big surprise when I was working with clients who were struggling with grief, is that moving forward does not mean forgetting. So every single grief case that I've ever worked with, there's been a huge resistance in doing the work because of the perception that they think, if I get over this, does that mean I'm not honoring their passing? Does that mean that if I really move forward, does that mean that I'm forgetting them? And the question that I ask every single client of mine, I'm going to ask you right now is, when you pass away, which is an inevitability for all of us, would you rather have scenario one where everybody is lamenting and they haven't moved forward and they are in such deep emotional pain that they can't move forward with their life? Or would you like option number two, where people feel that sadness and the pain of your loss, but are able to appreciate the time that you've spent and seen the perfection in the journey and are moving forward in power with your memory intact, with a memory of you intact, that they see your presence and think of you often in a fond way? Which one of those two scenarios would you rather have? And it's clear you'd rather have the second one. So you gotta understand, in your journey of healing, you gotta get that moving forward doesn't actually mean forgetting. Very critical for you to get. The third thing, point that we did. So I worked with my client today, and when she walked in and she saw at the morgue, she saw the body of her partner, of her boyfriend. I asked her this question, and I'm going to ask this of you, is what meaning were you making out of what happened? So he took his life. That happened. Okay? What happened, happened. But we're human beings. As human beings, we are meaning-making machines. We love to make meaning and derive meaning out of things. So I asked her this question: what meaning were you making out of it? And if this is something that you've been dealing with, I'm going to invite you to make that same question, to ask that question. This happened, and basically, what does that mean about you? And the reason why we are struggling, we struggle and we grieve, is because we're making some meaning about us. So the question you want to ask is, what meaning am I making out of it? And in her case, the meaning she was making out of it was, I'm worthless. In other words, he did this, okay? And this is what Jessica is saying here: suicide is not fair. It's so difficult. And I agree, it's not an easy thing for you to be confronting. But I'm here to share with you that the only reason why this confronts you and this triggers you so much is because you're making a meaning out of it about yourself, Shelley, okay? You're making a meaning about it out of something about you. And in my client's case, the meaning she was making was, I'm worthless. Okay. So what we have to do is actually look at the validity. I'm not good enough. I'm worthless. I'm a bad person. I'm not worthy. We see events that happen in our lives, and the only reason why we get triggered is because of the fact that we make it mean something about us. That's the only reason why I ever get triggered in any scenario, whether I'm with my partner, whether I'm with clients, at any, absolutely, Jessica. I'm here for you. I thank you for the comments. Please, I would love it if you would tag somebody and share this with somebody that you know that really needs to hear this. Okay. So back to this that I really wanted to share. Find out the meaning that you're making out of it. So he passed away. What meaning are you making out of it? She said, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. And there was a lot of guilt. There was a lot of shame and the belief that I'm not worthy. Well, guess what? I told my client this, that I'm sharing this with you, is that those feelings aren't new. This has come up and it's only revealing a past event that's similar. So what you want to do in this situation is what I take with every single client, is find out where it comes from and clear it. So in her case, I asked her, go back to the earliest memory where you felt unworthy. So we went back to when she was 8, 9 years old, and she was with her friend in the forest and her little sister, who was kind of like the tag along. And she warned her sister, she's like, get out of here. I want my space to myself. And what happened was she jumped up on this fence and hopped over this fence. It's kind of like barbed wire. And her sister came as well. And her sister fell into the fence and gouged a few holes into her leg and was bleeding. And all of a sudden she brought her sister back, and her parents were extremely upset. And she made it mean that she was worthless. It was a very similar trigger that happened. So when I say clear it, I have this process called the overview method, which by clearing it, we go and see the other side of the situation. I asked her in that situation why, because she was judging herself and feeling guilty about not helping her sister. And I asked her why at the time should an 8-year-old not want her little kid sister around? So she kind of took away the victim story of herself that she was playing on herself. And she asked the question, why should I? Why should I have not wanted her around? And why should she have gotten hurt? Because she had the belief that she shouldn't have gotten hurt and it shouldn't have happened. And I kind of made her look, if this never happened, let's look at why an 8-year-old wouldn't want her kid sister there, and why, if her little sister was still trying to tag along, why she would have possibly gotten hurt. And so when she looked at it that way, she changed the story. She started lowering her resistance. And then I asked her this question, what were the benefits of that happening? In order to answer that question, you got to know what your superpowers are and what your values are and what your mission is on this planet. So I take you through a process where we uncover what your values and your mission and purpose are. And when she read that to me, which was all about her being a healer, she knows how to solve people's problems. She knows how to be a healer. And what we discovered was when she was 8 years old, and the guilt of not being able to help, and her guilt and helplessness of being able to help her sister see a little child in such pain, she's now dedicated a career to helping people get out of pain because of the guilt of what she saw. And it was like this mind-blowing experience when she saw that moment that she felt guilt about and worthlessness about was the birthplace of her superpower. And her dark passenger, which was I'm worthless, she gained worth and power in helping other people clear their pain. So what we did there was we took the earlier trigger and we cleared it, and then came back to the scene where she saw her boyfriend at the morgue, and we saw the other side of the current situation. Now, this part might trigger some of you. This will trigger some of you because I've worked with people. I'm a chiropractor, and I've created this method, and people who've been doing therapy for years are able to clear it in almost no time in comparison. Minutes to hours, we're able to clear it just by telling the truth. See, what happens is, here's the truth. Whenever somebody dies, we have grief on one hand, and we also have relief on the other hand. So you can't, and this happens every single time. 100% of cases, whenever there's a death, there's a grief over the loss of the traits that we really admire about them. And then we have relief in losing the crap about them that we aren't really inspired by. And that's across the board. But here's the problem. We now also will have a layer of guilt because there's a part of us that actually feels relief. Now I'm going to say it again. This might trigger some of you, or it might set some of you free. There's a part of us that feels grief over the loss of the traits that we really infatuate with about them. Then there's the relief over the traits about them, over the loss of the traits about them that we absolutely despise. Truth is, you have a light and a dark side. And when you pass on, the things about you that people are going to miss are all the great parts about you. But I guarantee you, ain't nobody going to miss the shitty parts about you. That's a fact. And you have them, I have them, we all have them. And what happens is we have a grief and a relief and then a guilt over the parts of us that we have relief. So what I did was I asked her, I said, tell the truth. What part of you was relieved? And this is going to trigger some of you. I get it. This isn't personal to you. This is 100% of the cases that I've worked with. Where's the relief? And she was like resisting. I said, no, come on, you can tell me the truth. I won't tell anyone your identity. It's between you and me. And she basically admitted that, or maybe relief that you don't have to deal with them dying any longer. Absolutely. Tara, God bless you, sweetie. The relief over them not suffering any longer, the relief over seeing them downward spiral and seeing when they die. And oh my gosh, this relief. I remember one of my good friends, I watched her deal with the passing of her father who had cancer. And it was like every day there was anxiety. Every day there was a phone call. Okay, we have more bad news. It was bad news. And the day after he passed away, she woke up and she's like, oh my God, I don't have to worry about any really bad news phone calls anymore with more bad news. So yes, Tara, thank you for sharing that. There could be relief over they're no longer suffering. But make no mistake, there is relief. And in her case, she was like, oh my gosh, he was in a very dark, deep, dark, depressed state, which caused, and he was looking to her to rescue him. And that was just too much responsibility. And what she said was, she told the truth. She goes, oh, I didn't have to deal with the responsibility anymore. I said, say it again. And she goes, but I feel horrible. I said, no, where's the innocence of that? And she admitted in a very honest way that she was tired of carrying him in his mindset and being responsible for his happiness. And she said, I was free. And she literally said the words, he set me free. He set me free. And he knew that he wasn't, and the funny thing, the revelation that came out of it was that he knew that he wasn't actually going to do this work himself. He knew that he relied entirely on her. And here's the other part that she admitted. She admitted that it fed her ego, that he was so into her. And it was like it knocked her on her ass. It was like this, knocked her on her ass, and literally she was set free. She had guilt about it, but then she just told the truth. She saw the grief and the relief, and in that moment, she was set free and saw that her vision and mission and purpose was grand, was huge. She's got big plans for her life. And she saw that he was kind of holding him down, and he knew that he was holding her down. And he called her the day before and said, I have to let you go. And basically he saw, then what she saw, which was the big heart opening moment that had us both in tears, was that it was actually a gift to her that he did that. And I know that's going to trigger some of you. I know, especially if you have a death, especially if you have that. And I know I'm probably going to get a bunch of hate messages in my inbox. And I get that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this is bothering you. My hope is that this will set you free. My goal is to set people free of suffering. I've done it for 15, 16 years as a chiropractor. And I knew that mindset work was the big part of why patients would come in stressed, depressed, and anxious in the first place. So I created a methodology and a tool to set people free of suffering. And the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. And that's the truth of this work. And so I take it on. It's not fun all the time, but when you have a heart-opening moment like the one that I did today, and she literally was free. It's like she felt like she was born again. It was like a ghost, like an exorcism of a demon out of her system. She looked totally different, and she had a high vision for herself in the future. She saw the other side. She told the truth, and her heart opened and she healed. And the last part that I wanted to share with you that's critical for you if you really want to get over grief and death and suicide especially, is to find the right help. One of my clients yesterday has been going to a counselor for the past year or so of no success, still stuck on a story. And if you're finding help, and if you've gone somewhere that is promoting the idea of you playing the victim, of you being disempowered, then it's not helping you. It's not the right help. The fatal flaw that you can go through is to find somebody who promotes the idea of your victim story. That's not going to serve you. The right help, when you get it right, you find somebody that will hold space and hear you and will guide you with strategic feedback with no other story except the greatest version of yourself. And that is the only way to your freedom. And so I really would love it if you would tag the right person. Tag somebody that you know who's been struggling with this, or share this in a group somewhere, in a grief group or whatever. This might trigger some people, but I'm willing to put myself on the line to help set more people free. And I'm offering a conversation. If you would send a private message in my inbox, myself or my team will get back to you and chat with you over your freedom, the potential of your freedom, and what that looks like, and how long you've been suffering and struggling, and a strategy session of what it's going to take for you to actually get free. But here's the thing, it's not for everyone. This is for you if you're ready to be over your victim story. You're ready to not forget, but to move forward. Some people are not ready actually to move forward. They want to stay stuck in that story. This call isn't for you. You want to actually move forward. And this is the key. You're up to big things and you're ready to make a change now. And you're ready to invest the time, the effort, the resources in actually claiming your freedom. Why? Because your vision is grander and you just have lost it and it's become cloudy because of the grief that you've been going through, because of the events that have happened in your life, because of the stress that you've been dealing with. You are actually, you want something grander for your life. So I'm offering that to you. Send me a private message. Please tag this, tag somebody that you know who really needs to hear this, and send me a message. And I look forward to crossing paths with you. If you have any other questions, please let me know, and I might do a Facebook Live to serve you. Those key components, again, number one, don't bypass your feelings. Number two, moving forward does not mean forgetting. So please make that distinction. Number three, find out the meaning you're making out of the event. Number four, find out the earlier memories or the story of where it comes from and learn how to clear it. And number five, find the other side of the current situation and tell the truth. And number six, find the right help. So hopefully that was of value to you. And send me a message. Please tag someone, share some hearts and love. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side and crossing paths with you, and we'll see you at the next perfect time.